Hello, people. Happy, happy 2026. If you can really call it that. Well, for me anyway. Welcome back to the first stream of 2026. Now, the start of this year, it's already definitely not how I wanted to start the year. Yeah, so I thought I'd hop on and do this live and just talk about some of the sort of the plans for 2026. Just talk a little bit about where I am in my headspace and what I've got planned for 2026. So I do want to start off the stream, unfortunately, on a little bit of a negative. So if you've been following the channel, you'll know last year we had a little bit of unfortunate things happen. We had some family deaths and things like that that unfortunately occurred sort of into the beginning of last year. Well, unfortunately, we had another family death over Christmas, and this one hit very hard because this one was actually my dad. He died on Boxing Day in a motorcycle accident. He got taken out by another car, and his injuries were unfortunately too bad for him to ever recover from them. So it's only just been over a week, and I'm just kind of a lot's been going on, but I'm trying to get my mind back into like some music stuff, a little bit of a coping mechanism. Now, obviously, people they grieve in different ways. One way that I like to grieve from, if I've got something going on or if I'm down about something, I like to try and somewhat keep busy. I like to somewhat keep positive. I know that the people that have unfortunately passed away, they wouldn't want me to sit moping. So, like, as much as some days I do feel like I can't be bothered, I don't like to just sit there and mope. And I do like to somewhat try and keep as happy and as active as possible, and try each day to, if I do anything that day, if I at least make them proud, then I'm happy myself. So I'm trying to get my head back into a little bit of music stuff, and just trying to sort of see where 2026 is really going to go. And at the moment, 2026 is very much, there isn't really any plans. I'm going to be completely honest. Like, we just had so much going on last year, and then I got into the like social media addiction, and I just really, like, if I'm going to be brutally honest, like, we had some good moments last year, but we had some quite bad ones as well. And it has kind of knocked me back a little bit. I need to kind of build myself back up. And I was really planning to do that. And then we just got hit with this other death. And it's like, so I'm trying to sort of see where 2026 is going to go, and start planning some little goals and things, and just some personal things that I want to achieve. Now, myself and the layman, we've got loads of things planned, and me and the layman are always talking about what we've got planned and what we need to do, and layman's always trying to push me to get more productive. And get on the things that we're doing. So there's plenty of like little cool exciting things there. But I haven't really set anything like goal wise for myself yet. I haven't really and again, like on the side of bookings, like there's a couple of little bits that like were kind of discussed last year. Like, I played for some brands, and then they were like, we're going to have you back next year and stuff like that, and then they haven't obviously announced them yet, so it's a little bit unknown. Am I still MCing? So the MCing, so there is some exciting stuff about that, but I can't say too much about it just yet. So the MCing, So I kind of knocked the MCing on the head a little bit, because my main passion was always DJing. I always wanted to DJ. MCing just kind of started up as a little bit of fun. So a lot of people don't know this, but years ago, I used to DJ years ago, and I'm talking like 10 years ago. And unfortunately, I got bullied for it. And I actually gave up and I went to college, and then I got rid of my DJ equipment. And it wasn't until a year later that, just for a bit of fun, I started MCing. And that was kind of where the whole sort of MC journey kind of begun. But that kind of brought me back into the music scene. And in the end, it brought me back into the world of like being around DJ decks again, which kind of re-sparked my Kindle for wanting to give DJing another go. Now, originally, I only started DJing in the lockdown to do like live streams and radio stations. I only really got back into DJing originally for a little bit of fun, just so I'm at home, I can just jump on the decks and have a little mix. And basically, like, I was an MC, you know. I that's who I sort of thought I was. I was an MC. That's who everybody knew me for, and that's who I'd kind of built my name around, MC Noble. So basically, in the lockdown, I just taught myself to mix, and then I started doing live streams, online radio stations, playing DJ sets. Really got into it, really good. And then just before lockdown was kind of like, we knew we were kind of coming out of lockdown, we knew the nightclubs were opening again, I got booked to play this festival. And it was just like a little, you know, like somebody I knew had like got permission to put a little festival on this farm. It was a little bit of an illegal thing, but it wasn't like, you know, we're all kind of following the social distancing. The social distancing measures at the time, or, you know, the lockdown measures, kind of. It was kind of more like the clubs weren't open, but you were allowed to have small gatherings. So anyway, we did this little festival thing, and I DJ'd it, but I also MC'd at it as well. And that was the first time I'd ever played out anywhere outside of the bedroom. And then the nightclubs opened, and I just started getting bookings to DJ, like promoters with like, oh, do you want to DJ at our event? You know, it started off with people that had obviously, like, you'd seen me at that festival, and then they were like, you know, oh, do you want to play our do you want to play our event? So I started doing that, and then I just kind of naturally started getting booked as a DJ, and I started to enjoy it more than MC. And then I thought, do you know what? There's just a real buzz about being on stage and being behind decks. So I decided that I really wanted to, like, you know, like, this is it now. I want to keep pushing this whole DJing thing. And then I found it really hard to juggle the MCing and the DJing at the same time. And it got to a point where, like, you know, it's got to be one or the other, because I couldn't really push both at the time. So I decided that, look, it was, you know, let's wave MC Noble goodbye. It was fun, but then, you know, DJing is what I want to do. So I did that. But MC Noble never left. And I'd be out in the streets, and, you know, oh, it's MC Noble. It's the guy that spat about his neighbour. It's, you know, oh, it's the guy who did Scarborough Beach. And the old videos still get shared, and it was just, you know, there's still this like massive, and loads of people still know and remember, or still think I'm just MC Noble. So it's never kind of gone away. So I never really stopped the MCing because of that. So like, if I was live on TikTok and I was doing a DJ set, I'd still grab the mic and do a bit of MCing as well. If I was at an event and I'd done my DJ set, and they wanted me to, you know, and they allowed me to go on the mic, or they said I could go on the mic, I'd go on the mic and still do a bit of MCing. I just kind of stopped like promoting myself as an MC, and more as just somebody that like just would grab the mic and have a go for a bit of fun. But because like everything's just like, and MC Noble was such a massive thing, I have decided that this year I've got some plans to kind of bring MC Noble back from the dead a little bit. Even though he never really died, because I was still kind of there, and you could still go on live streams and see me MC, and you could still hear me in nightclubs MC. I just kind of stopped, like, you know, writing new bars all the time and putting new stuff out. I'm going to do, I've got some exciting things that I can't say too much about, to basically kind of bring MC Noble back a little bit into the limelight, just to do a couple of cool things that, you know, if you follow me on social medias and stuff like that, you will you'll like, and we'll kind of see where it goes. We'll kind of like, you know, we'll kind of sort of see where it goes. But I'm kind of looking forward to sort of seeing where it is going to go, and I've got some little exciting plans with that. But going back to the DJing side of things, things are very much in the dark. Like I say, with the DJing, I've not had loads of bookings come through for 2026. Normally I do. This time, like, with just everything going on, like, I know myself that I just haven't promoted myself as well as I should have done, but I've just had, like, so much things outside of music going on, mentally, with, like, family deaths and different things happening, that it's just kind of really knocked me back for six. So, last year, like, I had some really, really cool things off the back of 2024. That was, like, one of my sickest years ever. And I got some really good opportunities in 2025. It picked up a little bit in the summer, which I was really happy for. But so much happened last year, that I want to use this year as my building year, to kind of, like, build myself back up again, to be in a little bit of a better position. Because although I had some really cool stuff in the summer, in the early sort of 25, I really just kind of didn't really get that much bookings, and a lot of them that I did get, they got cancelled, or for whatever reason the date moved, and then I couldn't do the date, and then it really, like, it was just a horrible, like, you know, there was just so many different things that happened. So I want to kind of use this year as that kind of, like, you know, let's start climbing the ladder again, and let's start sort of, like, really doing some really cool creative things. And I'm really looking forward to some of the things that we are going to be doing, which one of them is going to be a little bit of a sort of like a renovation stroke, a studio build series that I'm ooming and ahhing on doing. Now I'm about 95% like I want to do it, and there's just 5% of me that, like, kind of, like, puts me off wanting to do it, but it's only a small percent. The small percent, like, the reason what puts me off, of doing it. Now, I live in a, like, supported living place, so I'm limited to what I can do with the room itself. Now, when you watch a lot of, like, renovation programs, like, they do, you know, like, they're doing all kinds of, you know, they're re-roofing houses, they're putting new doors in, they're fitting new windows, they're stripping the floor and re-flooring, as, you know, as you obviously do. Now, I'm limited to, obviously, I'm limited to what I can do in here, which is kind of, in a way, what puts me off, because I don't want to put something out, and, like, my friend, like, one of my friends made a good point today, like, are you going to film a series, like, where you just move in a desk? You know, and although I am going to do a little bit more than just move a desk, like, I'm not doing, like, tons of stuff. So, like, I want to do it, but, like, part of me is thinking, like, is there actually going to be enough, like, interesting content for, like, people to actually watch it? Like, am I actually going to be doing enough in the episodes to make it interesting? Or am I just, like, literally going to be moving a counter? Do you know what I mean? So, MC Noble would still do numbers today, seen a few. Well, this is the thing, right? Like, I know, like, and this is not to come from, like, a big-headed point of view, right? Like, I pretty much like, I reckon, right, and I see it all the time, right, that like look at the bounce scene. Some really really good MCs in the bounce scene, and they do tear outs, and they do some like really really cool stuff, right? And now I know for a fact, like, I'm not as good as some of them people. I listen to some really good bounce MCs, and I think, like, I can do it, but like I just can't do it as good as them. But I know that I can do it, and I know that I could jump on. Um, I know that I could jump on like these tear outs, and I could start doing all these tear outs, and I could start like going into studios and doing like little quick tear out videos, and put them online. Like, I reckon they'd do really really well. Like, I really really reckon that they would like. I reckon that they would really really just like, they'd take off, right? And then obviously, like with the Scarborough Beach and stuff, like if I started putting regular content out there as MC Noble, and then people like, oh, it's the guy. Look, it's the guy that did Scarborough Beach. Look, he's done another one. Like, it would all get shared about, and I know for a fact that like I could hit some like pretty big numbers, and then I could go live on TikTok, and like I'd have like hundreds of people, and I know that could happen, right? And like I have been very tempted to do it. I've been very tempted to just like MC Noble's back, and like, because I do enjoy it. I really really do enjoy it. I love like MC, and I love spitting bars. It will always be like a passion of mine. The only thing is, I want, like, with me wanting to push myself as a DJ, I thought that would like kind of jeopardize me being a DJ, and then like everybody would like did want to book me for MC, and you know. But yeah, my name is Zach. I love your content. My dad passed away last week. It would make my day if you could give me a shout out. Big out to Zach. Um, I know you're pain there, because my dad passed away last week as well. I feel your pain there, but yeah, I'm not gonna get into families passing away. I've had enough of that. Over the past year, we've lost a few family members, but I'm not gonna like bring everybody down on the channel about it. But no, so with the MCing thing, like, I know I could really, really properly bring it back, and like I would probably smash it, but I just kind of feel a little bit like I don't want to, like, what I built as a DJ as well. I don't want to kind of ruin that by kind of like, confusing people as well. So like I want to do a couple of little bits, and I basically I want to kind of bring MC Noble back as an alias. So like I want him to just be like the alias to like my DJing. So like I just want to I just want to bring out a couple of tracks under MC Noble, where I'm rapping on them and like MCing on them, kind of like as a little bit of a kind of like, just a little bit like, just to give a nod to the MC Noble fans, but I still kind of very much want to keep DJing. I think that's kind of like where I feel at the moment, like, because there is no better feeling of being like behind the, like, I still love that feeling of being behind the decks. So they're kind of like the plans for this year. I've got some like little MC Noble plans, and then like I'm just gonna kind of like keep on the music production, keep on the DJ. One thing I do really want to do this year is get more active on SoundCloud. So like I pay for a SoundCloud premium, so I can, like, I've got unlimited uploads. Like I can upload basically all the time if I wanted. Now my SoundCloud, I do upload to it, but I'm not very like frequent on SoundCloud. So sometimes like I'll put a mix on SoundCloud, and then I might go like maybe like 2 or 3 months before I post something again. Sometimes even longer. Like if I go to my SoundCloud now, I'll kind of give you a prime example of kind of like how kind of like unactive I kind of have become, or like how kind of like unactive I am on SoundCloud. And you'll get a little bit of an idea as to like when I post. So if I go down to tracks, so I posted a mix yesterday. That was kind of like the first for me coming back. But a month ago, I posted two samples of tracks I've been working on, because somebody basically wanted them on. Somebody was basically, I'd made these two tracks with kind of like with a friend for a friend, and anyway, they wanted them on SoundCloud. So like when they were like, you know, traveling, they could put them in when they're, you know, got earphones on and stuff. They wanted them basically on SoundCloud, and kind of kept pestering me to do it. To the point where I actually just got off my ass into gear and did it. Before that, the last mix I'd posted was 3 months ago. And then before that, I'd uploaded a competition mix, which was 7 months ago. I'd done 2 competitions, and basically, like, you know, and so I did a hardcore mix 3 months ago, and then I did 2 competition entries 7 months ago. So from that, so there was like 4 months where I didn't post anything on SoundCloud. And then I uploaded a production mix 8 months ago, and then also did another competition 9 months ago, and then it was just like 10 months ago, a promo mix 10 months ago, and then there was a radio show that I uploaded, which was like 1 year ago. So basically, I don't post as often as I'd like to do on SoundCloud, and sometimes I go quite a few months without posting. So I want to get into the routine of like doing more mixes. I potentially want to maybe start like a little mix series or like a podcast. I've always wanted to do a podcast, and they've kind of, I don't know if it's a sign, but they've kind of like never worked, if that makes sense. And what I mean by that is like, I get to maybe like episode 3, and then something just flops. So like there was like Bounce Land. I was gonna do Bounce Land, and then I was gonna do Bounce Land 2, and then so I might maybe bring back Bounce Land. Yeah, I might maybe potentially bring back Bounce Land and do like Bounce Land 2, that came out like about a year ago. Really good. We had 2, you know, we had like a guest mix for that. So I might maybe do something on that kind of score of maybe bringing the Bounce Land back. See how we go. But basically, yeah, I just want to be a bit more active on SoundCloud. That is like definitely one area for 2026 that, you know, for me, I feel like I just don't post on there enough. And yeah, I've nearly got 400 followers. And you know, my TikTok and things, like my TikTok is like, I've just like hit over 5,000 followers, I think, which is mind blowing. Like my Instagram, I'm like, you know, I'm like going on 3,000. I'm like over 1,000 subscribers on here. I've got loads of like followers and supporters on Facebook. So ideally, like my SoundCloud needs to be a little bit more booming. So I just want to get that a little bit more. So like there's more things going on there, and not only that, like I'm promoting it a little bit more, and you know, sharing. Like I put this mix up, but I haven't really shared it yet to social medias, because like with everything that's been going on. But I just thought I'll upload it. It's had 8 plays. It's actually had 2 love hearts, which is very nice. But it hasn't had any comments or anything. So we just got to kind of really see how it goes. You know, but I want to push that a little bit more. And then yeah, I suppose like music production. Like last year, like I made some absolutely really good tracks actually, some really good bounce tracks, and then obviously I've done a lot of like different and original stuff. But I've got a very very good habit of like I'm working on a track and then that's it. Like you don't ever really hear anything of it, and that could be like a bootleg, a remix, or an original. But I do a lot of stuff, and I'm like working on some. And I'm very like I don't release a lot of stuff, and that's not always a bad thing. But like I don't really do enough. Like I'm working on a new track or showing people you know, like you don't always want to be like just like sharing everything you're doing, and people can steal your ideas and things. But it is kind of good like every now and again just to, you know, like oh here's a little sample of something I've been working on, like just to show that you are actively working on some stuff. You know, and that is like something that I definitely want to do. So that is something that I am going to work on for this year, is just to try and be a little bit more like just updative on what I'm doing, and just kind of like really, yeah, give myself an absolutely massive boost. Anyway, with that being said, that is something I want to do. The next thing is my Facebook page. So Facebook did this, and if you've got Facebook, you'll know about this, right? But Facebook did this really annoying thing where they changed and they turned Facebook pages into a profile. So like all your pages, they've turned into a profile, and basically, you have to switch profile. So every time I want to post on my DJ page, like it's a profile, so I have to switch to that profile. So basically it's just kind of put me off, and I'm very like when there's something to post, like I have to move on to that, like I have to swap profile and post on that page, and it kind of really aggravates me. So I've kind of put that off, and I just kind of post on my normal profile, which is like, that's all right, but I just, like I say, I don't necessarily, like, I want to kind of get back to like pushing the artist page. So that's something I kind of want to try and do. I've tried to do it on numerous occasions and it always flops. And I always just go back to posting on Facebook, my normal, like, you know, my normal, like, Ashley Noble, instead of, like, my Ash Noble page. So, yeah, I want to get back to doing that. And, you know, like, try and sort of have, like, the artist profile. And what I might try and do is try and just find more ways to share my music. Like, because, like, I do send stuff sometimes. Like, I send some of my bootlegs off. Of course, like, me and the Layman are working on a lot of original stuff. And, you know, we are going to release that. And we've got lots of plans in the pipeline, which I'm really excited about. But there's, like, my own side of things that I still, like, enjoy doing. Like I guess, like, the bootlegging side of things and, like, making the bounce tunes. Like, I love all the original stuff I do. I love it, right? And, you know, like, I want to keep doing that stuff, definitely. Like, you know, it's a big thing for me. But I do still have a passion and an enjoyment for making the bounce music. Now, you know, a lot of people, like, say, like, you know, there's nothing in it. You're not really going to go anywhere just doing that. And although I do kind of understand it, for me, it's the enjoyment I have of like when I'm making it. You know, I don't, in all honesty, I don't sit there and write a tune, like to be a bounce track, for example. I don't sit there and think like, I wonder how well this is going to do. I wonder how many copies this is going to sell. At the end of the day, I just like that process of making it. I like when it's coming together, and then you click play and then you have a listen, and when you build in the leads, and when you're putting the donk bass in, like, again with the whole like bounce scene, like I like playing other genres, but there is something about the bounce, like, you know, not necessarily the scene, but like there's something about the music, like there's something about the music that I like. There's something about the sound of that style of music that excites me. Like, and this is nothing against anybody else that's in the bounce scene, right? But like, and I don't want to come across as, like a person who don't care, but like, I'm not really asked about what you're doing. Like, for me, like, because people go like, I'm fed up of the bounce, like, or it can be in any scene. People say they're fed up of the scene when like there's drama, or when something kicks off, or when there always seems to be like DJs having arguments within that scene. Like, but for me, that stuff doesn't bother me, because like, that's not, I'm not, like, and I don't even really class myself as somebody in that scene. I'm just somebody who has a passion for that type of music, and I couldn't care that two-bedroom bounce DJs are having an argument on Facebook, or somebody goes online and I'm never playing for such and such brand again. For me, that is not where, that doesn't concern me. It's not an issue to me. I love the music. There's something in the sound of that bounce bass, the tinny donk sound, the dinky leads, the rave leads, the build ups, the drops, the energy, the sound of when two tracks are mixing together, and you've got kind of like both donk basses double clashing with each other, and it just creates a real sick, powerful mix. That is just something that I love. And whether there's DJs arguing, or people just look at like the bounce scene in general and think, like it's just full of everybody arguing and this kicking off and that happening. Like I say, for me, I just feel personally, for me, that like I'm not there for that, and I'm just there for that like passion of like that tinny sound, and just in that style of music itself, like bloody hell. I just feel like yeah, I just for me, it's the music. It's not the people or the scene. Like, I've met some good people through bounce, don't get me wrong, but that's not why I'm here. Like, it will always be the music. And that's why I enjoy making it, because I just enjoy that vibe of that sound. So I still want to make it, but I'm thinking that like, like, of just like using maybe like my Bandcamp more, and stuff like that, and just doing some like cool stuff, releasing some like cool little EPs, and just kind of going a little bit like, because like I send to a lot of labels, and a lot of labels have like expectations, and if you don't tick all of their boxes, then they're not gonna take your track. Like, I sent one to a label a while ago now, probably about a couple of months ago now, just because I hadn't sent one for ages. I thought, do you know what? I quite like this track. I'm going to submit it. They declined it with the following words, and then for whatever reason, they hadn't attached the following words. So I didn't really get, there wasn't no feedback to read. Although I did then listen back to the track, and I think I had like double overlaid a crash. Which I did realise, and I had kind of like fixed it, and then I realised there was another issue with the track near the end of the track, which was an issue sort of overlooked by my end, but it just kind of, it wasn't off-putting as such, but it kind of was at the same time, to the point where, because like, and this is not a dig at like other people, but like I listen to other tracks that go up on there, and I sometimes think like, you turn mine down, but then you put this up, and I just think like, and certain people meet certain criterias, or they go to ghost producers, and nothing against ghost producing, like, if that's what people want to do, that's what people want to do. Not everybody has time to make a track. I understand that. Sometimes it just works better for them, like, just to get someone to make one quickly so they can put stuff out under their name. I understand that. Listen, I've got no issue in that as such, but then there is people that like genuinely sit at a computer and learn the art of producing, and try to like learn to make better tracks, and I just feel like we get knockbacks all the time. You know, like we're trying ourselves, we get knockbacks, but then somebody goes and gets a track made that is kind of like made by a ghost producer that's been producing 25 years, and you know they've had releases themselves under big labels, and they've been a part of big labels, and they've remixed for big artists and things. Like, you know, I think like, you know, it's just a bit like, I kind of feel that we kind of need more, we need more labels that are aimed at like, just, we need more labels, in my opinion, that are like aimed at like up and coming producers. Like, because a lot of like up and coming producers, like their tracks get knocked back because they're not good enough. And I understand that, right? You know, you don't want to necessarily be putting like shocking tracks out. Like, I kind of get that, but then at the same time, like as a like sort of like producer who's like learning and improving, like they need platforms to share their work, like, and share their progression, and people to follow that journey. And when they're constantly like getting tracks knocked back, like half of the time, like they scrap the track and then you don't hear of it. And I just think like we need more, do you know what I mean? We need that more kind of like, where can producers that are like really up and coming get their work out there, just so like they can start building themselves up, you know? And that is kind of like, we need more things that kind of like help the up and comers. But not only that, we need more things that help the like the not up and comers, but people that are not at the top. So like, you know, like, because there's some people out there, right? Like, I don't know, like, you know, they're an up and comer, right? And they enter a few competitions for DJing, right? And you know, and they win, and they're up and coming. They get these opportunities. They start getting a few bookings. They start getting a few tracks signed, and then it's like boom, like the support drops for them, and then suddenly like they're in that kind of like, they're in that position where they're not necessarily like a newbie up and comer, but they're still very much like at the beginning of the journey, right? And that's kind of like how I class myself, right? So for me, I've DJ'd about 5 years now, right? In nightclubs, nearly about 4 or 5 years, right? So basically, yeah, basically, right? Like, I've had quite a few bookings over the 5 years, some very good opportunities, right? And I've also like had opportunities. I've had like, you know, some tracks like have gone to some labels and released some stuff, right? But then it's almost kind of like the support just stopped. Like every time you see a competition, like, oh, you know, we're giving an up and comer a chance who hasn't, you know, who hasn't like necessarily who hasn't, you know, like played out before, which, you know, that's all fine. I understand that, and it's really great for the up and comers, right? But what about the people who, like I said, they're not necessarily like, they have played a gig before, you know, they played a couple of gigs, they've not played loads, but they've played a couple, they've got a tiny bit of experience of playing out, but they, you know, they need to carry on, they need to keep doing it. And I just feel like there's nothing for people that have kind of done a little bit. Like, I don't know, like there's people out there that maybe have had like 2 or 3 bookings. You know, they've won a couple of competitions, and then suddenly like they're like, you know, like these come up, and then they're like, oh well, you know, you already play out, you know, you already play in nightclubs. And I think like that's fair enough, but there needs to be more like competitions aimed for people that, you know, aren't just necessarily like right at the bottom of the ladder. they're not at the top of the ladder, but at the same time, like, they've done 3 or 4 gigs, they've had a couple of opportunities, they've done a few warm-up sets, and maybe done a couple of last sets of the night, right? But they need that little progression, and I think there should be still more competitions out there, that even though they played out a couple of times, like, they can still enter that competition, and then they can still, like, necessarily, like, if that makes sense, like, because I feel like everything's aimed at, like, the very beginners, but there needs to be somebody, like, there needs to be more stuff for people that kind of sit in the middle, where they've done a few little bits, but they're not out there they're not out there gigging every weekend, but they've maybe done like 3 or 4 gigs throughout the year. They've just started to get a few gigs, but they still need very much that boost and winning competitions and getting the opportunities. There needs to be more like festival competitions and stuff, like, just stuff that will, like, take them to the next level. Competitions where they can, like spend a day with a producer, or just like general, like, I feel like there isn't enough, like James Hype did a competition a little while ago. The winner got to basically like spend like a few days with him in Ibiza, and kind of like see behind the scenes and the ropes, and kind of get to ask like a bigger DJ questions. And I just think, like, like, there isn't enough of that goes around, and I think, like, that is something that would, like, it would be really beneficial, like, if there was more opportunities where, like, you could win competitions, and you could, like, spend a day, like, I don't know, like, imagine it was done in the rave scene, and it was and it was like, all right, like, win this competition, and like, have a studio day with Darren Styles, and go to a gig with Darren Styles and see the behind the scenes. Like, it would be really beneficial to somebody, like, to hear a bit of Darren Styles' story, be able to ask him questions, be in a studio with him, maybe work on a track, and then kind of like see him kind of like perform at a gig. It'd be like a really, really cool thing. And I think, like, it would just be so beneficial to, like, like, up and coming DJs and producers. Bloody hell, my nose. Let me get a tissue. That's a lot better. Do you know what? I think I'm maybe just starting to slowly come down with a little bit of a cold. I feel it now, only just, like, in the last hour. Like, I can kind of feel it. Like, my throat is just going a little bit. And then my nose just blocked up. And I've got a tiny little bit of a headache coming on. I don't know what it is, but anyway. So, anyway, with that being said, going back to the matter at hand, 2026 is still very much in the dark for us. I want to work on myself. I want to build on myself. I want to, first of all, make the environment around me look a little bit more better. So that's obviously what I'm doing. That is obviously that's the thing. That's obviously, like, I guess the first plan. And then once we've done that, I want to try and just make things look a little bit more professional. Just so, like, if I'm going live on TikTok and I'm DJing, like, just so, like, I've got that kind of, like, it looks a bit nicer. And so it looks a little bit like I'm in a studio and not just in a living room. That's kind of like the effect that I'm kind of going for. Anyway, with that being said, we are going to cut this one here. I just wanted to hop on, talk a little bit about sort of this year, plans, what the kind of his goals, and just say that I am here. I've not been live on here for a little while because, like I say, a lot's been going on. But anyway, with that being said, make sure to like, comment, share, all of that good stuff, and we'll see you soon.